Hi, we're here with Nick Brown today, and we're going to talk about core activation.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Nice to see you.
Thank you for asking. Usually guests aren't this polite.
Very polite.
What is your core?
The core of the body. A lot of people misunderstand what the core is. They think it's a six-pack. Brad Pitt's, for instance.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought you would.
But
the core is actually, it's a lot more than that. It's it's all of the musculature that runs through the trunk of your body and attaches to your limbs. So it's basically the trunk of your body minus your head, your arms, and your legs.
All right. And activating this does what?
Does a lot of things. Most people, when they're in the gym and they're working out, they do loads and loads of crunches, and they're always moving forward like this. Everybody's facing the same direction. They're running, they're biking, they're on an elliptical, stair climber, and they're pushing and they're pulling, and it's all in the same direction. What ends up happening is that the core of the body can do a lot of other things. It can help you move from side to side, helps you balance, helps you rotate. People don't work out that way. So by activating the core and all those different ranges of motion, you're going to balance out the body.
And you might be a better dancer too. I noticed you got a good side.
A little swagger.
All right. So tell me the normal thing. People come in to see you, they have normal issues. What do you see most often that are problem issues?
Okay. It's actually a combination of two extremes. On one end, you have people who are very underactive. They sit at a desk all day, or they stand somewhere all day. And then they go home and they sit on the couch, and in between that they're commuting and they're sitting in the car. And then they might go to the gym on the weekends and absolutely kill themselves on a treadmill trying to run off a drinking binge or something like that, right? So on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who run all the time, or they lift weights all the time, and they don't round out their body. They're not working the muscles that help a limb rotate. They're not working the part of their core musculature that helps their whole body rotate. They're not working the muscles that lift the legs up to the side. And when those muscles are ignored, the other muscles that are overworked end up overpowering those ignored or underactive muscles. A lot of times those muscles actually go dormant.
So you're saying there are muscles in my body right now, even though I work out and I do yoga and all these things that are dormant that I'm not using?
It's highly possible that you have some underactive muscles in your body. It's pretty typical for most people.
Okay.
Yeah. I can actually show you if you'd like to see an example.
I guess.
Okay.
All right.
So what I'm going to have you do is I'm actually going to show just one exercise that's going to show exactly how the body does this, how you lift your leg up to the side. And because we're not used to doing that, you might be surprised at how much you feel this.
Okay.
So I'm going to have you go ahead and lay down right here with your head towards me, and you're going to face that direction.
Okay.
All right. Now, you're going to notice if you're watching this that I'm going to be really particular with Christine's posture, how her body's positioned and how she moves. It's because the muscles have a tendency to compensate for each other. So if you have underactive muscles, your body's going to predictably do certain things as the overactive muscles take over the motion.
Okay.
All right, so the first thing I want you to do is make sure you have a nice straight line from your shoulder to your hip to your ankles. Okay? And then I want you to flex your feet by pulling your toes towards your knees. Okay? And that hip bone, right now it's pointing right towards the ceiling. I actually want you to bring it just a degree forward a little bit. Good. Now, all I'm going to have you do is just lift your leg up to just your top leg. Just lift it towards the ceiling. Okay? And you'll notice, if you bring it down a little bit, the tendency for Christine was for her toe to point up towards the ceiling. And what that's indicative of is that the front of her hips are overactive and they're tight, which is pretty typical. And the muscles in the back of her hips, mainly the glutes, might be a little bit underactive. So what I want you to do, Christine, is just start to bring your leg down, stop right there, lift it a little bit higher, and make it so that your foot is flexed again. And do you feel how now that your toes are more towards the ground and they're not pointing towards the ceiling, do you feel a difference in your body?
I do.
Okay, what do you feel that's different?
I feel tight right here.
Good. So the tendency, like I said before, was for those toes to go up towards the ceiling. So go ahead and let that happen. Let your your thigh rotate, and let your toes go towards the ceiling like you did before.
Okay.
And what feels different now?
It doesn't, I don't feel anything here.
Right. So again, those muscles are underactive. They're not being used. And you can go ahead and relax for a second. And what you're noticing as we make those small adjustments in how Christine's using her body, the tendency is for the front of her hips to be overactive and turn her toes up towards the ceiling, because the mobility in her ankle actually is coming from her hip. It's coming from how her femur, which is the main bone in your thigh, is sitting inside of her pelvis. because those muscles in the front of her hip are overactive, that toe wants to point up towards the ceiling. So if you think about this, when someone's walking around and they have that tension, the way that will look for someone who's walking is that the toes will point out towards the side. If you're standing right now, or maybe the next time you get up, just watch your feet as you walk, and you may notice that the toes are pointing out towards the side.
So when people come in to see you, and you can do a simple exercise like this, and you're able to look at them and find out if they're a desk driver, or maybe some of the things that they're doing wrong, you have the program to fix it?
To a degree. What happens when I start to work with somebody, the first thing I look at is their posture. I watch them walk, I watch them squat, and it's basically a combination of a postural and a movement assessment. That gives me a lot of clues about their lifestyle, and of course I ask them questions about what they do for work. I'd love to have a second job as a psychic and just be able to, act like I can just figure that stuff out. But in reality, I ask a lot of questions and I watch somebody move, and the puzzle pieces all start to come together. I may find out they had an accident years ago, and they've got trauma in their shoulder, and those muscles are just really tight. And we'll start doing exercises to start stretching those muscles out and rebalancing.
So if I came to you and I had a movement assessment, and we get a program together, now is this something that I'm doing in lieu of working out, or is this something I'm doing in addition to? Am I going to be at the gym for 7 hours this day? I mean, how intense is this program that you set up?
In the very beginning, a lot of these exercises are difficult for people, and it takes a lot of tweaking, a lot of managing their form. You can see how just a small difference in your body, if you can't feel it, the exercise might not work well for you. So in the beginning, it might take a while. It might take an hour to bring somebody through a routine. Within a couple weeks, that becomes a 10 or 15-minute warm-up. And the reason that's important is that now that you're activating those muscles that before weren't working right, doing a workout now, you're using all the muscles in your body the way that they're supposed to be used, as opposed to having muscles that are typically other muscles are compensating for and doing extra work for.
So once you get the muscles going, your body naturally tends to use them.
Correct.
In your regular exercise routine.
Just like waking up a sleeping worker on the job.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Nick. I super appreciate you coming down today. And if there's anything else that you want to impart to us before we go, maybe your website, your phone number, how can people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. My website is physicalrestructuring.com. It's listed on the bottom of the screen. And before you start any kind of exercise routine, especially if you're seeing a doctor for any kind of injury, or if you think you might have an injury, always seek medical guidance first and find a qualified trainer in your area who specializes in corrective exercise to help you get through this stuff.
Excellent. Thanks again.
Thank you.